May 2022 is finished. We're now into June. And this week on Taking Care of Business, we're here to review May's figures, what's happening with Allsopp and Allsopp, and what happened across Dubai as a whole. So we're joined by two wonderful guests. We've got the lovely Paul Kelly, our Operations Director at Allsopp and Allsopp.
Nice to be back. Thank you.
You're a welcome guest. And we've got what we can probably call a regular now on our second appearance, the data queen, Lynnette Sacchetto.
Yes,
got it right. Yes, got it right. Our Director of Data and Digital Transformation. Got that one right as well, didn't I?
Yes, thank you.
Welcome back.
Thank you. Good to be back.
So you've been with us a couple of weeks now, and you've been a busy lady, haven't you?
Yes, I have. A lot to do. A lot of exciting things happening.
Well, one of your very first things in the job was basically what happened in Dubai last month, because part of you joining the business, which we explained last week, was adding a bit more meat on the bone with what's actually happening across Dubai, price-wise, trends, anything that anyone watching this podcast can really take away and make better decisions, whether they're coming to buying, selling or renting a property. So today what we're going to talk about is what happened in Allsopp and Allsopp last month, to give you some of our views on what happened there, but actually then look at Dubai as a whole. So we can look for any trends, look for any things that might be any interesting, and then we've got a few things to talk about with regards to the news and what's happening. So hopefully you'll learn a little bit today on our podcast. So Lynnette, you've got some highlight numbers you may want to just start with from Dubai as a whole. Yes. Tell us a little bit about some of your findings from what happened in Dubai last month.
Yes, so this is my first monthly roundup here at Allsopp and Allsopp, and I have to say it's been such a pleasure not only looking at the government data, but looking at the Allsopp data. We have 13 years of legacy historical data here, and it's an amazing added value to the data that we have with the government. So if we look at what happened in May from the Dubai Land Department open data source platform, May was the highest record for value and volume in the last 13 years. And it was second ever from May 2009. So in May, we had 6,651 real estate transactions worth 18.3 billion dirhams. 51% increase year on year for sales volume and 65.4% increase for sales value when compared to 2021. Now, what was the mix of these transactions? 58.5% were in the secondary market, or the ready market as we call it, and 41.5% were in the off-plan market. So we're still kind of in that 60-40 realm that we've been in the last year and a half since COVID. 68% increase in off-plan volume and 144% increase in off-plan value year on year. Now, what we have seen in the Dubai real estate market this year is we have seen consistent, steady growth. And this is really good. And this is a very healthy, mature real estate market. I can honestly say that we are a mature real estate market now here in Dubai. And I think everything that we went through COVID was a true testament to that. We still haven't really seen the effects of rising interest rates or inflation on the property market. Transactions are still holding steady at about the 7,000 transaction mark a month. However, in other parts of the economy, we saw, for example, a 13% increase in petrol prices in June. So we aren't seeing the effect yet in the real estate market. So it's going to be interesting to see what the summer months will bring.
How much do we think that petrol price rises are going to affect the Dubai real estate market? Do you think it'd be significant, or it'd be one of those things that it's not nice for people, but we kind of suck it up and carry on?
It depends how long oil prices remain at the highs that they are, because you may think actually it might not impact someone on the ground, but if you actually look at employee travel costs, that someone getting to work, it's now a lot more expensive, so that may be impacting their remuneration. They may have to pay increases. You look at, for example, our home maintenance business, where there is a cost of travel to go to an appointment. All of a sudden, that job now has become more expensive for us just to go out and quote, not let alone conduct the work. So depends how long.
So that's good, because that explains the petrol prices, doesn't it? It's not just the average person on the street having to pay more to fill up the car. So what we're talking about with petrol prices, it's the wider business implications to it, and then how that might have a knock-on effect to the economy.
Absolutely. You see France speaking to UAE at the moment about trying to diversify their supplies from Russia and take supply here from the UAE, which is great. But got coming back to some of the figures, Lynnette, I mean, anecdotally, and that's the right way of saying it, the launches. So Finton, who's our head of developer sales, I think there was 3 or 4 launches last week. So new launches, meaning new development launches, and within not minutes, seconds, developments of hundreds of properties selling out completely. And to the point where we had last week a particular launch where we had 8 clients already with checks ready to go ahead. Within a second of that launch happening, really sorry, we've sold out.
And then do you know what's happening after that? A separate developer, 20 minutes after that launch is sold out, will then launch their next development with a hope to capture all these people that have missed out and have checks burning holes in the pocket because they're excited. So 20 minutes later, they're launching their development to try and capitalise on the back of that. It's
mind-blowing. And why I mentioned that is that's 144% year-on-year increase of off-plan. Value, I actually see that being far greater in the next 9 to 10, 12 months.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I think, during COVID, we saw developers not launch any new products. They just really focus on completing what they had on their books. And then obviously last year we started to see them launch new products. This year we've been seeing these, selling out in hours, minutes now, seconds, as you're saying, Carl. It's going to be interesting to see, and we talked a little bit about this in our last podcast, how the supply chain is going to affect construction and material. We know it has increased significantly, but when is that going to start to trickle down here in Dubai? Like I said, we haven't really seen the effect of interest rates or inflation affect the Dubai secondary market. I wonder when the supply chain issue is going to affect the off-plan market. With that said, we have a lot of high net worth individuals coming into Dubai, foreign investors, and this is the product that they're attracted to because right now in prime popular, especially ultra prime popular areas, there is no stock. So this is really their only option. And some of the new launches have been in that luxury segment.
Well, I mean, I don't want to steal your thunder, but we're going to talk a little bit about ultra high net worths, but actually people coming into country. There are lots of thirst for Allsopp and Allsopp. So nationalities. I mean, I think we can all agree that there has been a lot of, Eastern European money coming into the country. I'm hearing lots of different stories of multiple floors and things being built, purchased by, Russian buyers. But in terms of obviously what we found across Allsopp and Allsopp this year so far, and we had our managers meeting this morning, which we have every month to talk. Not just to talk about what happened, to review and how we can learn moving forward into our new month. And this year so far as a business, we're nearly surpassed 80% of last year's total turnover in 5 months. Now, that's not self-promotion. If you actually revert that back into the number of transactions that are happening, that's a testament of how busy the market is this year. But what we found is there's been a huge swing in different nationalities of people buying. So typically Allsopp and Allsopp, we're a British owned and ran company. We, with the name, we kind of have Western buyers drawn to the business. But for the first time in a long time, we've had Russian buyers and tenants appear in our top 3 and sometimes top 1 in multiple communities across Dubai. So we've got information we can share with people. We've got top 3 areas which you mentioned here across Allsopp and Allsopp as a whole was in Dubai Marina, downtown Dubai, and the Springs specifically. Lynnette, what you meant, we did speak very briefly off camera about Russian clients and where they're drawn towards community-wise. Where have you seen that? Yeah,
so Russian buyers, the top Russian buyer area was JBR for Allsopp and Allsopp, and downtown was second place for the Russians, and they have not been in the top 3 for buyers this whole year historically, and then this month they came into the top 3 for buying. For renting, I don't know if you want to get into renting yet.
Yeah, let's do that, yeah.
Okay, so for rentals, it's actually pretty incredible to see how that trend has changed. So in May, Russian was the number 2 renter for Allsopp and Allsopp. In April, they were in the top 5, and before that, they weren't even in the top 10. So the top 3 areas that we had Russians in the top 3 was JBR, JLT, JVC, Old Town, and Palm. So it's very interesting to see this trend. Obviously, with what's happening in the world, I think we're going to continue to see this trend at least for the next year or so.
What, and still people choosing here too?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Absolutely.
Very, very interesting. I got a question though for you. So, does it surprise both of you, considering we're hearing and seeing a lot of new money come into country, that only 34% of our transactions conducted were actually purchased with cash? Does that surprise you?
It does.
I would have said not so much, but I'll let you go first and then.
So typically, Dubai has been a cash purchase economy for the Dubai real estate. If you look at a whole of what is transacted on a monthly basis, usually less than 5% is on the mortgage basis, and this has been a trend consistently over the years. It was last year that we had the highest amount of mortgage ever done in Dubai, and I believe this year will probably come in number 2, or it could possibly be even number 1. What we're seeing with high net worth individuals and the foreign buyers, we are seeing they are very cash heavy buyers. So it doesn't surprise. Actually, it does surprise me.
And of our statistics, around 20% of our buyers opted to purchase with a payment plan, which right now, with the way the interest rates may play out this year, sometimes buying with a payment plan may actually be advantageous.
Yeah, you're safeguarding yourself across the interest rate rises. The reason why I wasn't surprised earlier, which probably explains where Lynnette and I are coming from. Lynnette has the wider market overview, whereas I know from Allsopp and Allsopp, we do a lot of mortgage transactions. And coming back to the sales, which I thought was really interesting, we talk about this huge spike in like off-plan transactions, but the market still kept that 60-40 ratio of secondary market to off-plan market. So as well as a huge rise in off-plan transactions, there's also been a huge rise in secondary market transactions naturally to keep that ratio in place. So again, with the secondary market transactions, probably certainly a lot of those with Allsopp and Allsopp will be end users, maybe second home buyers, but people who are purchasing with a mortgage.
We all say data beats opinion, or you say it.
Yes.
Right now, would you buy a property in Dubai? Is it now the right time to buy a property in Dubai? Honestly speaking, to the people watching.
So my philosophy, or a saying that I quite like, which I can't remember the guy who said it, but it's obviously not one of my own, is don't wait to buy real estate and wait. So for me, yeah, if you're in a position where you can buy a property at the moment, go for it, because whatever happens, and it depends on your position. If you're looking to flip a property, one thing or another, then let's take into account loads of different considerations. But as a general rule for a buyer, if you're in a position to buy, because it's going to probably go up a bit more this year. It might go down a little bit after that. But then if you're looking over a 5 to 10 year period, or even longer, I think you're always going to be in a better position.
So if you weren't buying a new home for yourself, what would you be doing in terms of what's your ideal investment strategy to buying a property in Dubai? Are you looking at short term? Are you looking at longer term rent? Are you looking at an off plan and actually yielding a return on investment through capital appreciation over the build time, which might be 3 or 4 years? What would you do?
Well, to talk about experience of what I have done is, and you have to talk to Finton for current availability, is a ready property that you can get on a payment plan.
Yeah.
Because you're hedging both sides there. You get in a property, you can earn an income off straight away. However, with being on a payment plan, going back to the mortgage and interest rates and everything, you're kind of shielding yourself away from it.
What about you, Data Green? What are you doing?
I agree 100% with what Paul said.
Okay.
So, don't wait to buy. Buy now. Especially here in Dubai, I do believe that prices will continue to rise, and in some areas double digits by the end of this year. So I'm talking about like the prime popular places, the places that are popular with short-term letting, some of the off-plan projects. There's still a lot of good opportunity to have. So if you just look at yields, I mean, I was just doing this math the other night. I was finding areas and opportunities 7, 8, 9% yields. If you look at the IRR, 6%, 7%. So it's still really, really good. My strategy is always right now is to look for a property to put on short-term letting. Okay. That's
and especially
by far.
Yeah, the World Cup coming up at the end of this year. This place is going to be.
And whereabouts then? Where would you buy if you're short-term?
My favorite place is JBR.
JBR.
And that's why, yeah.
And you know what? Honestly speaking, so we have many properties under short-term rent, and the vast majority that have bookings most of the year are only properties near the sea, and anyone near the beach, near the sea, because it's like you're on holiday.
Yeah,
it's the closest area to that. I don't know if you have the data, Lynnette, with regards to rentals this year. Can we talk about that a little bit, with specifically Dubai as a whole?
Yes, we do. Of course we do. So Dubai as a whole, again from the Dubai Land Department Open Data Platform, May had 58,153 rental Ijari registrations, which is a 64% increase year on year. Now, if we look at the rental market, I'm calling it the perfect storm. Because what we're seeing many different factors that are contributing to the rental market. So we're seeing the government initiatives to entice talent and businesses here. We're seeing rising costs to purchase property, higher cost of living, and a new visa scheme. All of this is coming into place now, and as we have seen, the demand for rentals have increased significantly. If we look at the numbers last month, they were more or less the same as this month, about 58,000, and it was a 46% increase from March to April, just in rental transactions alone. And we kept that number, not the 46% increase, but we kept more or less the same number as last month for rental transactions. I do believe that rents are going to continue to increase in some areas.
Well, I can tell you just from my personal experience, I have a property or several properties in Jumeirah Gulf Estates. One in particular became vacant. Last year it was rented for 70,000 dirhams, which is probably about £15,000 if you're watching in the UK. It's come back on for renewal at £95,000, which is 25-30% increase from what it's rented to today, which is like, wow. For me, I'm a happy investor, but if you look at it from a tenant's perspective, you're now thinking, I don't really want to move.
No, it's challenging, obviously, for the tenants, but it's a good place to be as a landlord. I was in a similar situation where I had a property last year. I could have rented it for probably 130 to 150, and I just rented it for 230.
Wow.
It'd be good. Maybe we can follow the podcast up with some data around like population increases, because everywhere you go at the moment, the city's alive, isn't it? It's
everywhere. Cinemas, malls, roads, everywhere you go. And then we're just circling back to inflation. I mean, obviously there are certain sectors that have housing allowance.
Yeah.
One my daughter's head teacher was trying to help him find a property, and the allowance he had set, he was kind of, things have changed quite a lot from when he last originally rented. So all that also plays a part in inflation. People.
So then, was he having to top up his housing allowance to?
I'm not too sure
whether
he got more money from the school or he topped it up, but it's just it does impact everyone there or thereabouts.
Yeah, absolutely. I personally think, how the summers it's like max exodus out of Dubai. Everyone's going on holiday. I think we're going to have an influx of tourism and people looking for the different visa schemas to come and potentially work and live here.
Well, for rentals in particular, the summer where people go away, we actually have a very busy summer, because you tend to have a lot of new teachers coming to country, people moving to country to start for their new kids' school years. So I'm with you though, by the way, because one of the biggest things to me is I own a lot of property in Dubai, and I up until now, despite running a business, don't have a golden visa.
Yeah.
I'm not qualified up until now. So the fact that this new golden visa come 1st September will allow me to do that, because I own lots of different properties, that for me is the convenience of not having to do a medical. My view is always has been long term in Dubai, but for anyone that's buying property here, that view of that every 2 years they review your situation. If you've got a 10-year visa, people's view will always now be longer term.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. What about Allsopp and Allsopp, Paul? You got the information in front of you. So, top 3 areas for us this month. Do you want to share what they were?
Yeah, so on the rental side, it was Jumeirah Lake Towers, Jumeirah Golf Estates, and Dubai Marina. And I think with Dubai Marina's, it's been in our top 3 since we started recording it. But Jumeirah Lake Towers, which is strange because it is such a huge development, is never usually in the top 3 for us. So maybe
you might find people migrating from Dubai Marina because of the prices into JLT, because it's still a lovely community.
What we were talking about, the rental increases, and it is a great community just on the other side of Sheikh Zayed. So you're getting a lot of the benefits of the marina just 2 minutes over the road.
We did touch on nationalities also, but just to summarise, British, Russian and French were our top nationalities in terms of transactions conducted. And the Russian clients, tenants of ours, were not in the top 5 in April and not in the top 10 any month prior to that. So again, that suggests certainly in the last few months, they're moving here.
Yeah.
Get some sunshine. And then the last bit, you want to touch on 34% of rentals were agreed with one check. So there's still people paying one check out there.
There's still people, but consistently, so that means 66% of people aren't, which continues the trend of people paying in increased checks for the rental amounts, which, again, going back to the rental increases, we're probably going to see more and more of over the next 12 months.
I'm praying to God, please get rid of checks. Just like normal banking, like you do in the UK or anywhere in the world, like pay with regular, reoccurring payments. And even developers these days asking for checks.
Yeah.
Or post-dated checks is beyond me. You know, I had to write out 25 different checks about a year ago. And I was thinking, my hand's hurting, and why am I still doing this?
It's because you're buying so many properties, that's why.
Before we wrap up, we'd like to talk each week about things that are happening in the news. So what's your top one piece of news, Paul and Lynnette, that you've come across in the last week that you think, do you know what, this is worth sharing?
The central banks upgraded the Dubai economy, I think, to 5.4%, I was reading, for this year, and upgraded the projections for next year as well.
So that's their outlook of how they see the country really growing this year.
Yeah, which is interesting, and probably more intelligent people than me could discuss it. But whilst we're talking about inflation around the world and the impact it might have in Dubai, despite those conversations, we're still looking for economic growth over the next year. So maybe that's an indication of the amount of people that are moving here, the amount of jobs that are being created, the amount of new businesses that are starting, and everything else, and whether that the popularity of Dubai at the moment is, at least in the short term, shielding it from a lot of the inflationary impacts around the world.
And I would imagine Dubai, there are some countries that aren't reporting positive growth this year, quite possibly.
Yeah.
So Dubai is in a list there. What about you, Lynnette? Anything last week caught your eye?
So Paul took my number one.
I'm sorry. That's why I was quick to say it.
That's good. So basically, Dubai property transactions reached 16.85 billion so far up to 2022. And again, this is from the Dubai Land Department Open Data Platform, which is, I mean, if you look at our progression through COVID and now coming out of it, it's really something to be spoken about, because if you compare it to other countries, we're doing pretty well, and we continue to do so.
Good. Well, everybody, thank you very much for tuning in this week. Every single week, as you can tune in, you can subscribe to any of our channels. So we're on LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram. Any of the ones down, the kids people, Snapchat, whatever you're
TikTok.
on. TikTok. Please like, subscribe. It really does help us, and it encourages us to do more videos, giving you more information, more data, and more anecdotal information of what's happening in Dubai. That's for us, and we'll see you next week. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks,
Bye.
bye.